One day you're cruising around in your NSX, minding your own business, not really redlining any gears, and you see this friendly little boop, coolant temperature gauge peg all the way hot. Whoa, where did that come from? Never happened like that before, and it's pegged all the way. Something has to be causing this. Your first thought, panic, of course. Your second thought should be get your car back to the garage or where you can park it and examine it and start troubleshooting what's going on. Because I'm going to tell you, it might not actually be an overheating issue. Now, like every car of this era, and the NSX is not an exception, there's usually a very simple sensor that sends a signal to your temperature gauge inside the vehicle. And there it is right down there if you need a reference. Let's see where we're at. We're pretty much just, it's really easy to find your EGR right here, and then just kind of go in kind of underneath throttle body area here, right next to where your throttle cable goes in, and you'll see this sensor, and I'll touch it with my finger just to point it out further right here. So simple, single wire is all you're looking for, guys. Right there, perfect. A lot of times that's the culprit. Now over time, these are pretty robust sensors because they're so simple, they tend to last a very long time, but they do fail. And when they fail, since it is a voltage variable that tells the temperature, based on the temperature, the voltage changes, which triggers the gauge to change. It's such a simple thing. So anything that interferes with that consistent voltage is going to cause the gauge to read inconsistently. Now, a couple things can happen. Your gauge can just be completely dead. I've seen that in vehicles where it doesn't get above anything. It's all the way past cold, even when warmed up. Sometimes I've seen them pegged to hot, and sometimes they're erratic. So we're gonna go ahead and, there's two options here really. You can try to take the sensor out and clean it. Some people have had luck with that, but it is seriously an under $10 part, I believe, from Honda. I'll put the actual part number and packaging in the video right now. So just for me, it's easier just to swap out the sensor. So let's go ahead and remove it, put the new one in and see where we're at. I do apologize for the quality of video. It is hard to record this. So to remove the old sensor, you got to disconnect the wire. There's no clip or anything fancy like that. I just simply use a pair of extended needle nose pliers. Grab securely onto the plug and pull up. Nice and easy. And then I'll go ahead and reveal, you can stick that out of the way, the actual sensor itself you can see sticking out down there. And there she is. That's what we're going to be replacing. So the next step is going to be removing that. Now I like to inspect the connection on the wire just to see if there's any issues there. So grab your little wire here. Like I said, this is a constricted area to work in. I do apologize for the quality of the video. Let's see if I can get this in the spot where I can actually show you what I'm talking about here. And here we go, guys. This is, as you can see, where I'm pointing right here, is the end of the wire connector that goes onto that temp sensor, and it looks to be a little corroded inside. So, is it enough to really mess up the signal? I don't know. I can't be the judge on that. You can run some continuity tests, resistance tests on the sensor. At this point, I'm going to use a pick and kind of just pull out that little bit of corrosion, try to clean it up a little bit so we have a good connection to our new sensor. Yeah, it's not a good sign when you see that stuff. So let's clean up that connector and then also get the old sensor out and new sensor in. It's near impossible to get a camera into the angle where I want to show you the details of how I'm cleaning the plug out. So I'm just going to kind of show you the tool I'm using, just a simple pick, and then we'll go ahead and clean that out and get the old sensor out. You can see that corrosion in there. All right, let's clean her out. Also, since the sensor plug and the sensor connection is really just a smooth bore kind of metallic connection, I'm using this old wire brush. It's actually from a gun cleaning kit, and these I use actually quite a bit of the time on automotive projects. So just nice and small, I got one the right size, and cleaned out the inside of that sensor wire where it contacts the plug. That will also help with good continuity, good connection in the future. I found the best way to get this plug out is with a 12mm deep socket. with two 6-inch extensions. Just simply slide that down onto the sensor and go ahead and back it out. And here's our old temp sending unit, removed from the car. Definitely looks old, probably original. Some things to keep in mind: resist the temptation to wrap the threads with Teflon tape or put any kind of Loctite or sealer on there. And there's a couple reasons for that. One being it doesn't need it. Two being these threads are what actually ground this whole sensor unit to the engine block. So it derives its ground from that contact. Hence, wrapping it with Teflon tape or a lot of Loctite or any kind of thread sealer could interfere with that, cause the signal to be incorrect, and cause the sensor not to run your temp gauge accurately. So simply install the new unit. Remember also, when you pull it out, you are going to get a little bit of coolant draining out, not too much. So expect that, have something ready to catch it. But let's go ahead and install the new unit at this time. And there we have the new temp sending unit sensor installed. Let's go ahead and start the car. Check it for leaks first off, and then let it get up to operating temperature and see if the temp gauge is working accurately. Alright, moment of truth. Let's go ahead and start the car, check for leaks, and let it get up to operating temp. Not the best video, but you can see my shiny socket coming down right behind the throttle body area there. There is a bleeder valve. Since we did open up the cooling system, go ahead and make sure you crack open that bleeder valve and let any bubbles come out, just in case we introduce air into the system. Feel free to give it a couple of revs to get it up to operating temp quicker. To ensure you're at real operating temp, watch your fan, your cooling fan. Now it's not going right now, I just missed it, but I usually let it cycle through a couple times just to know you are hitting operating temps. If you have a temp gun, you can also shoot your coolant lines. And this is to ensure that everything's working, that your thermostat's opening when it should. And here we go, right on cue, look at that. So your fan kicking on and off is a great indicator that you are reaching operating temps. And let's check out our gauge and see where we're at inside. Doesn't really get any better than that, does it? Right under the midpoint. So it looks like the new sending unit is working. Car has reached operating temperature. All the bubbles have been bled out of the system, which there weren't that many. So that was nice. It looks like that new sending unit's working perfectly. The next test, obviously, a drive with wide open throttle pulls, and we'll hope this temp stays right there.